Hey, Mr. Hansen, good to have you with us tonight.
Hey, Mrs. Quirk. Glad to be here.
How's everybody doing? It's the Karate America Community live stream. Thank you for being with us tonight. We have Mr. Hansen as our special guest. We're so happy to have you after what I'm sure it was a busy night of classes, sir.
Oh, absolutely. Every night is a busy night of classes.
Well, good to have you with us. We do have, hopefully here towards the end of our episode, we're also going to be having Mr. Kozlowski from Karate America Pewaukee on board for a little bit of the episode tonight. So hopefully he can make it after he's done with his later classes. We do have, of course, some announcements to get through. So if you are joining us, first of all, welcome to the live stream. If you're joining us on Facebook, make sure you go ahead and leave us a comment down below. Let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're supporting our live stream. Watching Mr. Hansen, hopefully have some great comments and questions for him tonight. If you are on YouTube, same thing. And for our Twitch viewers, we hope that you let us know that you're here on Twitch. We are hoping to get some followers over on our Twitch channel. We're up to 143 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is great. I sure would like to get to 150. Do you think that your episode will be the one that puts us over the 150 limit, Mr. Hansen?
Bring it on.
It's a challenge, right? All right. Well,
we've got people to make sure that they're watching.
Good. I love that. So we've got a couple of really cool things coming up here this summer, guys. We've got first and foremost, and Mr. Hansen, maybe you'll talk about this just a little bit for us. We have the Roland Osborne Thrive Seminar coming up on June 26th at our Brookfield Academy. Now, I know registration is open on the app for students for June 26th. We've got time slot for beginners, absolute beginners, no experience necessary in martial arts whatsoever, starting at 9 a.m., if I'm correct on the time. Then I think we've got our intermediates at 10:30. Is that right, sir? And then our advanced and legacy members or leadership members, the third one. But go ahead and firm that up for me, Mr. Hansen, because I know you know those times better than me.
Yeah, so you're right on, Mrs. Quirk. So there's about a 20-30 minute break in between each section for everyone to kind of reset and get ready for the next group. So yeah, we're going to be doing it on the 26th. If you love martial arts, this is the seminar to be at. Mr. Kozlowski was actually talking about it earlier today in our meetings, where he did it 12 years ago. And it had such a profound impact on his journey and the way he viewed martial arts at the time. Yeah. And even to this day, it's one of the highlights and one of the things that stands out along his journey to become a black belt. I unfortunately it was like a year before I actually started karate, my martial arts journey, that Roland Osborne came here. So it was a while ago for sure. Yeah. But I just talk about Mr. Kozlowski. He just lit up when he was talking about it. So any students or families who are wondering, like, is this going to be of value? It's going to be of tremendous value to them for.
And that's a great point. And I know we had Mr. Osborne was actually our guest last week on the live stream. And I don't know if any of you watching or you, Mr. Hansen, got a chance to see any of that or even catch a little bit. But, I have seen Mr. Osborne perform and speak. He does motivational talks. He's an author. He goes all over the world and works with students and does motivational talks just for people of all ages. And just listening to him on that live stream inspired me. Mm-hmm. And I had a couple of friends and family that watched the live stream actually, reach out over text, and they're like, wow, that guy was really inspiring. And I was like, I know he is really something special. And he's one of the most talented martial artists, one of the most talented instructors on the planet. So absolutely, moms and dads, and students, if you haven't registered yet, we will have limited space for that June 26th seminar. So make sure you get registered. Don't wait till the last minute. Make sure you go on the KA app and get registered. That's one you are not going to miss. Not going to want to miss. So
it's filling up. So, and there's limited spots. So don't wait, because it will get filled.
Yep, absolutely. So we are going to be closed for our 4th of July holiday. Our academies are closed. We have no classes, no operations, July 5th through the 9th. So if you are a student at Brookfield, Pewaukee, or virtually over worldwide, we will not have classes the 5th through the 9th. But what will be happening is you can sign up to walk with Karate America Brookfield in the July 4th parade, right, Mr. Hansen?
Absolutely. Yeah, there will be we can absolutely put a sign up. And, but yeah, July 3rd is when the 4th of July parade is happening. And I just got an email from the city. It's obviously still a go. They're going to send us some more details as to lineup and everything at the end of June, they said. So it'll be like a week before the parade. Details from the city. Generally, we are there by 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and then we're wrapped up by noon because it's a quick parade, and it ends
It
at
is. Yeah, that one right by the Brookfield Academy. It's like right down. That's Calhoun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right down Calhoun Road. Whip around the shopping center, and you're in and out, done. So It's a really fun way to celebrate Independence Day. Walk with your student, walk with your KA community. As you were saying earlier, Mr. Hansen, I have a feeling that this is going to be a really popular parade. It's our first 4th of July parade in the Brookfield community since the pandemic and everything hit. So I think it's going to be packed. Hopefully it'll be nice and hot, but not too hot. Some of those 4th of July parades are scorchers. So I think you guys are going to have a great turnout. But if you want to march and walk with Karate America, make sure, like Mr. Hansen said, follow up at the Academy, and we'll have some registration information out for you guys at the end of the month. But that's going to be a really good time. What else is going to be a good time is we're going to have the Karate America picnic on Saturday, July 17th in Rotary Park in Menominee Falls. So I think we're also going to have some registration information out for that closer to the date. We are going to have a different kind of picnic than we've ever had before this year. It's going to be a bring your own bag lunch. However, what's not going to be different is that we're going to have games. We're going to have a lot of things just to celebrate coming together for our first picnic since 2020, since actually 2019. We didn't have one in 2020, which I know was a real bummer for a lot of people. But we're going to have a great picnic. Even if you're a worldwide family, Mr. Pieper, Mrs. Bray, Miss Hansen got some pretty cool stuff planned for everybody. Even if you're going to be joining us virtually, we're going to be live streaming the picnic. So it's going to be pretty fun. Tell us we have Cool Days of Summer coming up, right, Mr. Hansen?
We do, start next week on Monday. Woo! Our first week. So what Cool Weeks of Summer is, throughout the summer, we have specific theme weeks to just have some extra fun, bonus fun throughout the summer.
Yep.
And so we're doing 5 weeks this year.
Okay.
5 weeks, and they're about every other week. August changes because we didn't want to go too close to school with it.
Yeah.
People focus on getting ready for school, but what'll happen is first week is going to be Fun Hair Week. So next week is Fun Hair Week. The students are meant to do their hair in a fun, different way than what they normally do. Some people will build an Eiffel Tower in their hair, a mermaid in their hair.
I'd like to see that.
They'll have all kinds of little bells and whistles and literal bells and whistles popping out of their hair. And anyone who participates in our theme weeks is going to get a raffle ticket. Anyone who has the most amazing kind of school spirit for that theme week will get, in the winner of that class, will get 3 raffle tickets.
Okay.
At the end of the summer, we're going to draw the raffle tickets out of a tumbler that we have for families to win some prize packages. Very similar to our yard sign packages that we put together for our contest with putting up our summer camp yard signs. A lot of the families were excited about that, and I got some cool ideas here and items already for those prize baskets.
Well, people love raffle tickets, love winning prizes, love getting a little bit competitive. So that sounds like that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you guys have any questions about Cool Days of Summer, how your student can participate, make sure you follow up at your academy with your team. I'm sure all the information is there waiting for you. So Mr. Hansen, so tonight, as you know, I talked to you about before, we've been celebrating dads, role models, leadership all month so far in the month of June. We were also doing it for moms in May. Now we're transitioning to dads, and where leadership, role models, personal development, things like that shows up in the martial arts, and what kind of threads we can see between fathers and dads, role models and families, and in the martial arts. So as you are somebody who as Mr. Osborne was kind of teasing me last week, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, because you're somebody who started your martial arts journey not as a dad, and now you're a dad. You are somebody who started your martial arts journey, not as a husband, and now you're a husband, not as a black uniform, and now you're a black uniform. So talk to me about those transitions and starting out as a martial artist at one phase in your life, and now, as a dad, as a husband, what if anything has shifted, what has shifted as the way you see martial arts?
Yeah, it's such a great question. There's so many little details to talk about each one, because each phase is broken down for me into a phase of my martial arts journey. when I started out, I was in college. I was 25 years old and had a very different kind of focus in my life at the time.
Mhm.
And going through and just the journey was a like my own self-discovery, going from white belt to black belt, kind of understanding, building confidence for myself, building the courage for myself, coming together in a community and being part of a community that I wasn't part of ahead of time, or knowing, or being a part of a larger group at that level.
Mhm.
It was very much for me, my martial arts journey at that point. I enjoyed it. It was my own personal growth, and I like hitting pats, and so it just spoke to me, and when I first started with it, with my black belt journey, and then you know, as that transitioned into first degree and beyond, it started to shift less for myself and more for others around me, and how I can get back to our community, to other students. And I started teaching.
Mhm.
I believe it was Mr. Quirk and Mr. Mealy just looked at me one day and said, "Get out there. You're going to teach." And I'm like, well, I go on out there and start having fun, and a very trial by fire, in a very kind of traditional
Yeah,
instruction.
didn't give you an opportunity to really say no.
No,
I think I remember that. Yeah.
not really. And then from there, it was I was tasked with running a leadership class, and I think I came in like 1 p.m. and was on gym 2 just practicing what I was going to say, what I was going to do, because I just, it was such I couldn't even conceive the concept of teaching a whole class at that time, and I need preparation.
You're like, who, me?
Yeah, right. I'm on my own out here. And then of course, Mr. Quirk had tasked Mr. Mealy with being on gym 2 to guide me, and to be like to make sure I did everything really well.
Yeah,
and
get this guy ready.
There for about 2 minutes and walked out through the instructor door and was gone. And speaking of Mr. Quirk,
oh, we've got a live stream bomber.
Right, live stream bomber. It's
Hi,
the
Mr.
first.
Quirk.
I just wanted to be the first live stream bomber. I'm just saying hello, everyone.
Good to see you. Mr. Hansen's just talking about how awesome he is, what a great instructor he is, and
Yes, it's just
how he did it all on his own. That was so. Go ahead, pick up from there, Mr. Hansen.
I think there's a lot of people that probably agree he's a pretty great instructor.
He is a great instructor.
Right? Yes.
I certainly have fun and enjoy doing it. But that was then the transition to teaching more, and now giving back to our community, and less about my own personal journey on martial arts. Well, that was still part of it. It wasn't the main focus. It was, how can I get better as an instructor? Oh, and by the way, becoming better as an instructor means I'm understanding the martial arts to a deeper level. So that way, when I perform it at another. So the learning of the martial arts actually didn't stop when I taught. It actually got stronger, and I got deeper into understanding what it was that I was teaching, what I was doing with the martial arts, which I think is one of the coolest benefits of becoming an instructor and starting teaching, because I get to analyze it in a whole nother way.
Yeah.
So from there, and then over the past 3 years, from when I first met my wife and she started her journey, and how I could start to shift to my family, being a martial arts family. And she's on her way. She's halfway to becoming a black belt herself. Our daughter we're teeing her up here to take classes as soon as she's able to sit still for more than 3 or 4 seconds.
She's getting there.
She is getting there. She's doing her chumbi, and her block is fantastic at home. Chop, attention. Her bow is just her head nod down. I mean, she's getting there to that little ninja level.
Right. But I was gonna say, I remember talking to you even before you had a child, and saying hypothetically, like, yeah, if I ever have kids, they're definitely gonna take martial arts classes. And it wasn't just because, like, well, it's what I like to do and I work there. It seemed to come from a very deep, like, this is something that I want for my family, very, very earnestly. So now that you have a daughter, now that you have a child, what do you see? Like, how has your lens shifted, as a dad? Like, what do you want for your child through the martial arts that maybe you didn't see quite as profoundly before you were a dad?
Yeah. So it's teaching and working with the kids have given me the students that we have and seeing their growth. I want that for my daughter. I want my daughter to grow up and become and have the skill set, the confidence in herself, the courage, the willingness to stand up for herself if she ever has to, or if someone's kind of saying something that isn't right to her. She's not afraid to bring her voice out in a respectful kind of, no, I have confidence and this isn't right. I need to stop what's happening here with what you're doing to me. I want her to be happy and not have to worry about kind of like, is someone going to say something and then she's just kind of shut down for the next 20 minutes. So she has some perseverance, some toughness, a mentality of, no, I'm a belief in herself. And I see that in our students when they walk in, when I meet them for the first time at orientations. And then in about 6-9 months, they take that first step towards their courage, or sooner. I mean, they're on that path as they're moving forward in their courage and just the shifting in effective behaviors. And I want that. I want my daughter to have that. I want her to have it as soon as possible so she can start facing as many challenges that life throws at her. And she has this tool set of becoming a black belt, the focus, the confidence, the life skills that we're teaching, awareness and courage, the purpose and values that she can rely on in times of confusion and say, where does this line up in our purpose and values, and how do I make the right decision going forward? What would a black belt do in this moment?
Yeah, it strikes me when you say that you want her to believe in herself, it rings of the purpose to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. Exactly. Because that belief in themselves, when even for myself, when I have that total belief in myself, there are so many phenomenal things that I'm able to accomplish. And when the students, I get to see it. I see it on a day-to-day basis working with the students. And there's these flashes of belief as they start to be confident in their martial arts or their leadership technique, that whereas like 6 months ago they could barely bring their voice out. Now they're echoing off the ceiling, and I'm like, well, you might want to cool it, like bring your voice out. The person is only like 2 feet away from you. But it's that continuous growth and continues to strive for belief in ourselves that it's really inspiring, and I want that. I want that for my daughter. I want that for my wife. I want that for as many people in the world.
Yeah. I think the world will be a better place if we all believe in ourselves and have that confidence and feel good about ourselves and have tools to communicate, through difficult situations. I know you and I have trained in the mixed systems and conscious communication, and you and your wife have come to some of our, one of our family seminars, and those are really important tools to have.
Yeah, we use it. We use it. My wife and I use it when we have our discussions at home. I mean, when we have ones that and discussions like many families have that are they're heavier. They just have a little bit more weight. They're deciding how we're going to move forward with choosing like her job, or how she's going to move forward, or how we're going to raise our child together, and what strategies.
Big stuff.
Yeah, they're not easy conversations.
Yeah,
there's something that for her, like my actions at home are creating some sort of static, or what we call a moose, or just some conflict with internally for her that she doesn't like, that she's not used to, that she didn't have the experience with growing up.
Yep.
She's been able to, and I together have been able to use these tools to communicate in a way that we still show our love for one another. And it's not a damaging conversation. It's actually a growth conversation.
Yeah.
Longer forward on the other end.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear. We have actually a question for you here, Mr. Hansen, from Ms. Hilbert. We have Mr. Hansen. How many years have you been training? Good question.
I am on. I'm coming up on 12. Coming up on 12 in the fall. I am on 11 years.
Okay.
11 years training in martial arts.
So there you go. So if anybody is wondering if we're going to have any upcoming trivia nights, everybody jot down these answers, because all these things we talk about on live streams, sometimes this is going to come in handy.
I don't have any giveaways today.
What's that?
I don't have any trivia or giveaways today. You want to tune in for that? Tune in next time.
Right. We'll have a trivia night, and Mr. Hansen will rule the evening. I have no doubt.
I will go all out for it.
We have Ms. Calhoun saying, love those incredible KA families and girls rule, as a little shout out to your daughter there. Sure. Oh, and you're in luck, Ms. Calhoun. Hang in here with us till the end of the live stream tonight. I actually have a really special announcement that you just might like around these very cool and powerful conscious communication tools. And yeah, I think you're going to like it. So stay tuned. Mr. Quirk is saying fear is so powerful and can be so destructive. Imagine who we can be if fear isn't in the way. I agree. I mean, there's a great quote, and I forget who said it, but it's what would I do? What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Right. And that question, I think, for each one of us is so powerful. And what usually holds most of us back is fear of failing, fear of looking stupid, fear of whatever. And when we learn to, I don't know that fear ever goes away, but I think when we learn how to navigate it and deal with it, and understand what lies behind the fear, we just become so much more powerful. So another change that I wanted to ask you about, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, is your black uniform, Mr. Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody watching who doesn't know what I'm talking about, what's the deal with the black uniform, please just briefly explain for anybody who might not know the significance of the black uniform.
Yeah, so the black uniform indicates the chief instructor of each Karate America Academy. The black uniform, my responsibilities now is I'm responsible for the integrity of the martial arts at Karate America Brookfield, keeping it to a high standard, a standard that was set by Mr. Quirk ahead of me, and any other chief instructor, Mr. Mealy ahead of me, and anyone else who has been a chief instructor, and Mr. Reed on top.
Mr. Reed, Mr. Deneau, Mr. Schaefer, yeah.
And it is my job to make sure that our martial arts is consistent across the board at the academy, that our instructors are teaching it to a very high standard, and that the students are walking out of here learning a skill set. Martial arts, this self-defense is a skill. And when we're able to, just like any other skill, it takes practice, it takes hard work, it takes dedicated instruction. And it's my job to make sure that those things are happening. And if not, then we shift and we make sure that it is happening. Or I make sure that it is happening. I'm also tasked with training more instructors. So as you see, most recently we had Mr. Playley elevate up to red collar. We have Mrs. Deacon who's going to be testing towards her red collar here as well. We have Miss Noss is eyeing up her black collar. And it is my responsibility, and Mr. Peeper's right there on the doorstep of black collar as well. It's my job to make sure that these guys are getting the support from me, so that way they can keep moving forward and achieving whatever they want here.
So yeah, thank you for that. What did anything change for you, or what shifted for you? Did you feel different when you put that black uniform on? I mean, what was that experience like for you?
So a black uniform as an instructor, the black uniform is the uniform to want to earn. Mm-hmm. And I say earn, I'm very much on purpose, because it is one through years of training and hard work and failure. Lots of mistakes, lots of failure, and then not allowing that to stop us. And I use us as in myself, and I can probably speak for a couple other black uniforms would agree with me on that, would be my story. And what specifically changed for me was a mindset shift of not just the single classes that I'm teaching, as in the entire gym floors and the martial arts. Whereas before, I had not been chief instructor, so I was mainly focusing on my individual classes, the gym floor that I was teaching. Mm-hmm. That shifted towards, and it wasn't just as I earned the black uniform and all of a sudden, now I've got it. I've been working towards it in the background. Mm-hmm. Just like our black belt, the uniform is kind of like the last piece to the puzzle of my work towards earning it. So it's just a greater sense of responsibility for the entire martial arts program across the school. Not just where as operations manager, I was watching the events, I was watching the school and the building repairs and any upgrades that we do with the building. Now I'm now responsible for the martial arts.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, for me, when I think about, a black uniform in an academy, it absolutely, to your point, is first and foremost our martial arts. And it's also, the culture and the purpose and the values and behaviors and just the whole sort of caliber of the academy. So it's a big mantle to have on your shoulders, and it's not something that is awarded lightly. And we can, if we sort of pulled back every single Karate America student and instructor who's ever trained, it starts out with many white uniforms, a little bit fewer blue uniforms, a little bit fewer red uniforms, instructor uniforms, and we would get right to the apex And it would just be a handful of people who have truly earned the black uniforms over these decades. So it's quite an accomplishment, and you should, I think you're proud of it, but you should be very, very proud to wear that black uniform. No, Mr. Quirk always said that's not a logo on our back, that's our colors. And
Right.
I think people who wear, the black uniform are acutely aware of that. Just the blood, sweat, and tears that went into Karate America as a system over the years, and just our lineage and our heritage, and plus they look really cool. At least I think they do. So when I know you said you've been training these, 11, close to 12 years. Before you became a martial artist, were you always a leader? Is that something that you've kind of always gravitated towards, or was that a shift when you became a martial artist?
Well, I think I demonstrated effective behaviors to be a role model for people. I was willing to. I've always had a phenomenal work ethic that was instilled in me. So any job I went to, I generally moved forward because I was willing to do whatever it took to finish the job. I would pay attention. I'd arrive on time. I would do what and then I would, in the job, I would go over and above what I needed to do. Leading.
That sounds like you.
Yeah.
I can attest to that. You're an incredibly hard worker. You show up early, stay late. Everything's yes. I mean, you are. Anybody would be happy to have you on their team. We're ecstatic to have you on ours.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm grateful to be part of it. And so, but really, like leading people, the mindset of leading people, the focus of doing, like looking at others and saying, how do I help them on their growth and their path to their limits in the world? From that place of leadership wasn't something until. And it wasn't even when I was first starting doing martial arts. It wasn't until we were well into past my early days of teaching basic belt class, to where I was actually running a gym floor and understanding more the theory and concepts behind what we're doing as martial arts instructors, and not so much martial arts instructors as in building human being instructors. So I didn't really have a knowledge or a greater sense or greater lens for that type of leadership until I got a little bit further into my martial arts journey. But before, I just had done a lot of role model, doing what needs to be done, the right decisions. Yeah.
So probably like the building blocks for leadership, but maybe you're like a lot of people. I think sometimes we don't really even we're not, kind of like whenever you said, Mr. Quirk and Mr. Mealy encouraged you or told you were going to start teaching. It's like sometimes we're not even awake to the fact that we have the capacity to be leaders,
right?
Because we might have sort of a picture of what a leader is, and I don't exactly fit that picture. We've had experiences, my experience of what leadership is, and that's not me. And so it never occurs to me that I am a leader, an influencer in any way. But I mean, you actually really strike me as somebody who, I remember before you started teaching, I mean, you are very others oriented. You're very like in tune to what's happening around you. You're very awake to the world around you in a way that a lot of people just aren't. It just comes to you intuitively. So I did always see you. If I think back, and even now, you are very tuned in to how other people are feeling and what's going on with others. So I feel like that might not always be a leadership trait that gets a ton of attention, but man, is it key for being a great leader, especially a leader in our organization where it's all about building other people up and supporting other people.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like knowing you, that's always come, at least that part has always come very naturally to you.
Yeah.
Caring about others.
Yeah. That has been something that I care about people. I care about others. I care about people walking in the front door for the first time for their orientation. I've never met them, and I care about them.
Yep.
It's just the mindset. Whether I was working or whether I was, it doesn't matter where I would be in life. If I'm still that same person with the same mentality, that is my mentality. That's where I think that's probably where my success as a martial artist and one of the things that I added value to early on to Karate America, to what I was doing to students, that came through more than anything.
Did you, from the get-go, did you have a favorite class or group to teach? And is that the same favorite for you now? I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but is there any kind of like age or ability level or class that you kind of have extra fun with?
No, there wasn't one that actually stood out as one. Each class has its very unique traits to it and where the student is on their journey. And I would say as I continue to learn how to instruct more classes, my love for doing or my little nuances of each level stood out more and more. I mean, I started out as adult instructor and basic instructor. If we were to put like a pin on one that is like a natural place for me is adults, because I came through as an adult. I have a very adult instructing experience, adult student experience, so I can relate to the student, an adult student, to a level that maybe someone who came in, went through their martial arts journey, may not understand or fully kind of see. Just they need a little bit more experience with it. Whereas flip flop, it had me start working with the kids for the first time. Me and my deep gravelly voice started, and not like I'm scaring kids out of the floor. Like, who is this guy? So I had to learn how to. I spent 25, 27, 28, 30 years not, moving out of kid zone. We're into adult, and like they're learning how to speak with kids, how to relate to kids was an actual learning process, relearning process. So now I can take and look and say, oh, I'm not a kid anymore, but how do I relate and build a relationship with the students so they can trust me? And that was learning in itself. With adults, I didn't necessarily have to do that as much. So
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So for anybody who is just joining us, we are live tonight with Mr. Hansen. He is the Chief Instructor and Operations Manager at Karate America Brookfield. If you want to let us know that you're here and that you're watching, we'd love to have your comments. If Mr. Hansen has made any kind of impact on you and your family, go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know what your experience with Mr. Hansen has been. If you have a question for Mr. Hansen, we've had some really cool questions from Mr. Hansen so far. Go ahead and let us know. If you are on Facebook, go ahead and register through StreamYard so we can see your name, not just Facebook user. And if you're joining us on our YouTube channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We want to get up to 150 subscribers here during this episode. I feel like we can do it. It's only 7 subscribers. I think you have that star power, Mr. Hansen, to pull them in. So,
We'll see.
Don't let him down. Mrs. Deacon saying adults are just little ninjas at heart. I agree, ma'am. I always tell my team we're all just big, giant, young achievers, pretty much. So whatever applies to kids on the floor, it's amazing how it applies to adults off the floor as well. Hey, Ms. Roberts, good to have you on board on the live stream tonight. It's great to see you. So Mr. Hansen, as a student, did you ever have an obstacle or a challenge in martial arts? And I don't mean just something like a hard move or a hard part of a form, but like an actual, like a challenge or an obstacle on your journey as a martial artist.
Yeah, when I was in early stages of martial arts, so like I think it was around green belts, orange or green. I hadn't become a blue uniform, so I hadn't made a commitment to earning my blue uniform or earning my black belt yet. And I was in college, and as an adult, we get pulled in different directions, and sometimes our schedules go out of bounds. And I was in a place of being out of bounds with finals, with just kind of the things that were going on at the time in my life. And I hadn't attended martial arts, and there was a chance that I could have continued down that path where I did not continue.
Yeah, you gotta take a break.
Yeah,
never come back, which is what 98% of people do. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have the greatest intentions. Like, yeah, I'm going to go back, and to restart that train again is a tremendous amount of effort, and therefore it's hard for people to do that, even with the best intentions.
Yeah,
I got a call from Mr. Mena now. We missed you call one night on my cell phone. And I said, "Hey, Mr. Hansen, where are you? I haven't seen you for a few weeks," and it's like, oh, okay. I got to get back in there. But what it really did for me is it showed how much the people within our community, the people within our organization care about each other, about their goals, and they're moving forward, and that they are here with us. And so I got that phone call. I think within a week I was back in classes. And but there was a chance with that at that timetable that I may not have made it back in just because of the things that are going on in my life at the time. The other time was when I first degree black belt. When I went to earn my first degree, I've been taking adult class and then like doubling up. So I would go leadership into adults class, like and doing double classes. So I was working out at like on a physically fitness level outside of that. Mr. Quirk and I actually had gone on and done some training in just making our body strong. So I was probably at the best physically, my physical fitness, and just at a really, really high level going.
Yeah.
And I actually hurt my knee the first week of class, and I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm getting in the best shape so I can earn my black belt, and I had stepped back into a stance and I hurt my knee, and I had missed the 2 classes that are allowed, and I was pretty concerned that I wasn't going to be able to finish through.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, my knee was able to. I was able to fight through it and make it through and then pass my black belt test. But that was a little bit more of a challenge because at that point I hadn't experienced an injury that had caused me to say, well, I can't actually do my next class.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to overcome that mentally, and that was probably the biggest challenge, is the mental side, not the physical side of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm struck by the story about Mr. Menenow reaching out to you with that phone call. And what strikes me about that is I think that, I love the saying, a black belt is a white belt who never gave up. Mm-hmm. And what is also true is that sometimes it's sort of like, we're all, I feel like we all get to that. Sometimes we don't even realize it, but whether we know it or not, we are at a fork in the road. Mm-hmm. And how easy, if we look back, it's like, whew, it's like almost getting in a car accident, like shaking for a little bit afterwards. It's like, how close you were to maybe not continuing, not because you weren't a great martial artist, not because you weren't motivated, not because you were lazy or any of these other things, just because you're a human being. And to your point, especially as an adult, life happens and it gets really hectic, and it can just get really heavy. Right. Mm-hmm. And were it not for that phone call at that moment, or if you didn't pick up that call or whatever, what would have happened? Might you have actually, statistically, we know probably you would never have come back. And then you would never have earned your black belt. And look at all of these lives that you would never have impacted. Right. I mean, that kind of gives me chills, right? Mm-hmm. So when I think about, it's not just like what each one of us, the power that each one of us has with Mr. Menenow caring enough to stay after class and make that phone call and invite you back in. And where can each one of us do that for other people in our martial arts and Karate America community? And we never know, we might be the difference of indirectly look what Mr. Menenow has done. And I'm not saying like it's just him, right? There's
right.
a lot of people built the Mr. Hansen that we have today. And,
oh gosh, yes.
But truly, I mean, just like that one phone call, right? And so when we are maybe feeling a little bit awkward about reaching out or telling somebody how much we care about them, or telling somebody, hey, I missed you in class, or whatever that looks like, no matter what our belt level or age is, or, it doesn't even matter if we work for Karate America, if we're part of the community. I'm just struck by how important and profound that moment is, and where does that moment maybe show up again and again for so many people out there. Mm-hmm. Just to say somebody cares. Like you said, somebody cares. We actually care. We actually miss you. And it's not the same here without you. And just to say that, like the impact, the ripple effect that can have years and years and years down the road.
Absolutely. That's the fork in the road that you're talking about. Really,
really cool. So we got some Mr. Hansen comments here. We got to back up for them. From Facebook users, sorry, I can't see who you are. Mr. Hansen impressed me from the first time I met him. I think you're not alone in that. We have, I remember watching you with my niece and nephew a few years ago, and you should know, no one would have known you didn't have much experience with kids back then. So I bet there are a lot of people surprised tonight on the live stream to hear that there was ever a time where you didn't feel confident working with kids, Mr. Hansen.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Hansen's incredible. Thank you for being you. Hey, we got Mr. Playley on the live stream tonight. That's pretty exciting. Mr. Hansen has been one of the biggest mentors and role models in my life. He's helped me through the difficult times in my martial arts school and home life. It's been an absolute honor. Oh, that's really nice, Mr. Playley.
Thank you.
I'm sure a lot of other people have very similar things to say about Mr. Hansen, the impact that he has had on their lives. So Mr. Hansen, talking about role models, who for you has been or is a role model for you? Who's somebody that, or people or anything that you look up to and that inspires you to be an even better Mr. Hansen than you already are?
Well, I mean, it starts with my parents. I mean, they have instilled the care in people that you see from me, the decision making, the ability to stand up for myself, the hard work ethic. I mean, this is from my parents, and each one of them individually have their strengths that I have hopefully picked up on. I probably picked up some, maybe they're not so many good strengths as well.
No, there's no such thing.
Well, we won't tell them that unless but it starts with them, and they've been role models, people who set the example, guided me through decision making, through choices, being considerate of other people, thinking of others before myself, treating people the way I want to be treated. Just some of these things that are not defined, like with our purpose and values. I look at my family and my parents and was very purpose and values driven. That just wasn't defined the way ours are.
Like implied,
yeah.
Like, of course, this is how we live our lives. Yeah.
And they instilled those things, and they walked the talk too. So they did, when they said, be considerate of other people, think of others before yourself, they would do those things themselves. That just reinforced the modeling and that they're preaching. And even to this day, I still am learning things from my parents. I mean, my mom, the moment she gets involved in something, she gravitates and like elevates up to like leading it and teaching it. It's just what she does.
Yep.
And I love that. She's an educator.
She's good in classes. Have you seen her in the worldwide classes?
Yes.
She's got some talent. Truly.
Yeah. And she's been an educator herself for 4 years. So there's this part of working with people, giving back to others, giving back to our community, whether it's martial arts or just the greater community that we live in. And so I've seen that from her. Some of the other leaders and role models, I mean, I would not be where I am today without Mr. Quirk and Mr. Mealy. They took me from a primarily an adult instructor to being able to work with kids, to be able to understand and build relationships and provide the students and wake me up to providing what each individual student needs at where they're at in their lives, because we're all on our own journey. So I need to be awake to where each student is on their own journey. And so much of that came from the two of them. I would not be chief instructor or wear a black uniform without their guidance. It wouldn't happen. Yeah. Mr. Meninow with my martial arts journey, Mr. and Mrs. Buck at the time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. Such a great family. Great. Was Mr. Buck an instructor? Because I know Mrs. Buck was.
Mr. Buck, I think, was Mrs. Buck's second, at least in the class.
That's right.
They were a team. They were a team in real life, and then they were a team in martial arts, not real life, but outside of our school. And even to this day, Mr. Buck will walk by and he'll step out the window, he'll watch, and he'll smile and wave. They were
Mr. Buck and Mrs. Buck. If you are watching this somehow on YouTube, we would be ecstatic if you would come back to class just to say hi for a night. You guys were one of our very first families. Mr. Buck actually brought his son Danny over when we were in the space that's now, I think, an optometrist office, and like walked in, and we had like a little vinyl Karate America logo with like strings nailed to the wall, Mr. Quirk and I, and he somehow he believed in us enough to sign Danny up for like a year program or something. And I remember when he first came over to the big space over in Rubial, that's now Brookfield, he looked around, and because he had taken classes in this tiny little like lobby of a optometrist office for like 3 months. And he's like, I don't know, there's a lot of space for you guys to fill. Because we had like 4 students or something, this huge 5,000 square foot. He's like, okay. And then like each week he would come back, he's like, there's more people. Like he was always like, all right. He was kind of rooting for us the whole time. So awesome family. Yeah. I'm glad to hear. I forgot that that Mrs. Buck was kind of that era that, you had been with her. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. They were teaching the adult class along with Mr. Meninow, and then Mr. Quirk would step in there at times, and then Mr. Ty River, I think, was in the day not in the day, earlier in the night, teaching kids.
Yeah.
Mr. Quirk and Mr. Mealy popped in probably about a year and a half into my journey to becoming a black belt. He started
Okay.
adults, and he had a white uniform.
Yep. He was like part-time in it, I think, when he was like working in somewhere else, I forget where, and he would like drive in after work and teach class. And
Yep.
yeah, those were fun times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's truly a family affair for you now, because your sister works at Karate America. She's a black belt.
Yep.
To your point, your wife is training, your mom and dad are training. All we have to get is your brother and sister down in Texas, I think, worldwide.
They've earned their white belt.
They do have white belts. So then, we have graduations coming up. I'm sure they could come up to speed if they, could earn their gold belts here in July. What do you think?
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I've talked to them about it. And, that I will not stop asking them.
You'll be relentless. We get like the full Hansen package in Karate America. Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you do? I mean, so you are a phenomenal leader. You month by month, year by year, you become a better and better instructor, better and better martial artist. When you're off the training floor, is there anything that you do for personal development work, or just to kind of push yourself and, just level up as a person, as a leader off the martial arts training floor?
Well, I don't stop thinking about it. That's for sure. When I stop off, I am constantly, I'm constantly evaluating my own performance throughout the night. To be this high level of self-awareness has gotten me to where I am today. And going through our performance feedback for myself, what did I like? What would I do differently next time? And I'll analyze my interactions with a parent, with a student, with a drill that I did for, and what I liked about it and what just didn't work. It starts with my own self-awareness there, and being critical and being okay with being critical, recognizing the success that I'm having. I can't forget that, and the success that we have with students and their growth, and my interactions with families are a success, because I look at them as just as important as the students. Mm-hmm. And recognizing that, so I don't just get lost in the constant beating myself up or just turning into a negative way. But I use a positive, and then I say, okay, what would I do differently next time? I'm constantly asking questions of you, of Mr. Quirk, of Mr. Mealy before me. He and I would sit here at the end of a shift, and we'd be done at 9 o'clock, and we wouldn't leave until 11, just because I was peppering him with questions, explaining about theories and how to work with people. Oh, and then, by the way, I would learn about martial arts, but it was really about the biggest learning that I have and questions I have is how I learn about people and how I learn to interact and help them. I'm learning through instructing other instructors. To continue my leadership learning, I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving, so that way I have as minimal amount of downtime from learning and growing as possible. I read books. I am looking very much involved in, on social media. I try to find the leaders of the industry that are currently there, or at least the people that Mr. Reed and Mr. Quirk talk a lot about or have things about. I follow them on social media. I follow them on like Facebook, which is showing social media, but just to see what they're posting and see how they're interacting with their communities, so that way I can learn how to do it even to a higher level here. So those are other things. I do my own every Tuesday and Thursday. We're working together as a staff training. Like right now, I know Mr. Playley was in watching the live stream, but I've been able to, ever since Canada class, I've been able to jump back into Tuesday and Thursday staff training night, where Miss Noss, myself, Mr. Noss, Mr. Playley, Mr. Lemke are in there, and then some of the other staff, depending on what's going on in the school, are all training together. So that's where I keep my martial arts moving forward. Earned my third degree. I'm learning from Mr. Quirk, from Mr. Reed, to just continue moving forward. The mindset is being a constant learning, or a constant student of life, and trying to remind myself not to forget to have failures, to have mistakes, to try things new, and be okay with it. Don't allow my ego, my pride, my whatever human side that's very normal to get in the way of learning. Because learning happens, kids learn so quickly because they're willing to make mistakes without really worrying about what that mistake is going to be, or that fear that's there along with it. And what happens as adults, and what I've noticed, at least for myself and others around us, we wake up to this social, the social impact. What am I going to look like? How do I feel like doing this? do I want to look foolish in front of these people that I've
Yep.
been meeting, or that I feel like I should be higher up because I'm a third degree, and it actually stunts our growth. It would stunt my growth if I did that. I would stop wanting to learn, because with learning comes mistakes and failures. So it's a constant daily reminder to myself to be okay with mistakes and failures, because I know that I'm going to learn quicker. I'm going to pass the person and move a step ahead of the person who is allowing those things to stop them from their learning and growth.
Mm-hmm.
And that provides a great amount of joy and drive for me. So
yeah. And I know that you talked earlier about the conscious communication, the MIC tools that have had such an impact on your personal life. Just you, I guess, as a leader, what have the tools done for you as a leader, I guess, at work, in our organization as Karate America, as a martial artist and as a leader?
It's allowed me to have it's allowed me to have difficult conversations. And then for me to feel like I'm heard by the other team member that I'm working with, to feel like I can express myself in a way that isn't going to result in a negative interaction with the person. It allowed me to show my care for people to a higher level, because I'm able to verbalize and communicate the care I have that I feel internally. I'm able to communicate it more with my body and the words that I'm coming out of my mouth. It's just allowed me another way, a deeper level of being able to communicate with people in a professional and in a personal setting.
Mm-hmm.
To continuously look at how do I put their what they need and where they're coming from, just a step ahead of mine and what I'm seeing. I need to put myself in the other person's shoes first. Yeah.
What Mr. Flaley says, we are all on Gym 1 practicing and watching. You got this. You got your fans out there on Gym 1, Mr. Hansen.
Nice. They're training. They're moving.
I love it. Did you tell them we need 7 subscribers on the YouTube channel tonight, guys, on Gym 1?
Who's ever watching, subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, YouTube. Subscribe.
That's an order from your chief instructor. We got a great comment here. Well, there's a great mindset shift. Most people try to fit in personal growth and learning time in their schedule. Mr. Hansen tries to never have time that isn't scheduled for growth and learning time whenever it's feasible, i.e. while driving. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really great point, Ms. Pulicki. I mean, and we've talked about this too, Mr. Hansen, in our training. It's like people do, I think, squeeze it in as like, oh yeah, and I need some personal development, introspective time as a leader because I'm so busy doing my work, which sometimes actually, if we're not awake to it, but it becomes tasks. So I'm so focused on the tasks that I'm not actually doing the work of building myself. So I need a bigger lens. I need to have more strength, I guess, as a leader to lead and support more people and people in different ways. And so I have to, it's like hitting the consciousness gym, hitting the leadership gym. It's like, I have to do that work. I mean, most of us are doing something every day. And it's Mr. Osborne was talking in his episode last week. It's structured. It's on a schedule. It's not when I have time. It's not when I think about it. And I think that great leaders are no drama, always reading books, listening to podcasts, seeking out leaders on social media, things like that. And I'm just always really impressed when I do talk to people in leadership positions. They can just rattle off the books that they're reading and the podcasts they're listening to. And it's really impressive, but that does kind of go with the territory, of great leaders. Mr. Hansen, Mr. Jury saying, Mr. Hansen told me each time he saw me that he had a uniform for me, National Night Out parades when I brought Zach to class and when I was watching Mrs. Jury. Now I'll be testing for black belt. So there's you giving back that, just has a uniform for somebody, that gift that was given to you of urging you to teach by Mr. Mealy, Mr. Quirk, and Mr. Mendenhall. Where have you been now? Look at all the people that you're impacting.
Yeah, I can't wait for Mr. Jury during that black belt. That's going to be so cool.
You going to be next rotation?
Yes, that is scheduled for our candidate evaluation test in the fall.
Very, very cool. So when is, actually, I don't have an announcement up, but when is our next underbelt graduation?
July 24th.
Okay, so end of this next month then coming up is going to be underbelt graduation. Do we have registration open for that yet on the app or not yet?
Application for graduation is live on the app.
It is, okay.
Until June 30th to apply for graduation. At that point, then there will be an added cost of graduation or to the application for turning in late.
Okay, got it. So if anybody has any questions, Mr. Hansen, whether they're watching from Brookfield, Pewaukee, worldwide, who should they just contact their teams at their academy with any question about, hey, is my son or daughter graduating? What does graduation look like? What do we do?
Yeah, if there's anyone who's wondering as to whether their son or daughter's graduating, just stick around, wave me down if I'm teaching your class, or wave the instructor down, and we can talk it, get the information to you that you need. If not, we're not available. You can't wave us down. Stop by Miss Hansen or who's ever at the front desk, and then she'll write a note, and then we'll get in contact with you.
Yeah, or I would think okay to send an email.
Of course.
And if you are a Pewaukee family, same thing for Mr. Kozlowski, send an email. I know oftentimes he's teaching and doesn't have a front desk person there right now, so go ahead and shoot him an email. We'll get back to you. And of course, our worldwide team, Mr. Pieper, Ms. DeWade, will answer anything they can via email if you don't have time or the ability to talk to them in class. Okay, we got one last question here from Mr. Hansen. Mr. Hansen, what's your #1 podcast recommendation?
One podcast recommendation. Brene Brown has a really good podcast that is working on the growth and development of an individual. I'm not off the top of my head. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
Brene Brown. She's got a book.
She's got a bunch of books.
Yeah. The most recent one was Dare to Lead that I read. And then she has started a podcast in which she brings on guests and they talk about leadership. They talk about communication. They talk about just being a human being. And it's just a phenomenal insight into human behavior, human thought.
Yeah.
And then leadership and being a leader and the vulnerability that's involved with being a leader and the courage that's involved with it. So I do recommend her podcast.
Yeah, and she does really amazing work around vulnerability with leadership, and she has a really, really famous TED Talk that I don't even know how many millions and millions of views it's got, but if you were to go onto YouTube and Brene Brown vulnerability, it's a really famous TED Talk that's phenomenal. I think I've watched it like 8 times and it never gets old. So I recommend that as well. If you're going to watch her podcast, watch her TED Talk as well. She's got some great books. So we're coming to the end. We're coming to the end of our episode. I do have a special announcement in the live stream podcast world to make, actually. But before we do that, it looks like we're not going to have Mr. Kozlowski join us. I'm sure he got just held up with some students and families over at Pewaukee. So in his absence, we are wishing a happy birthday, a happy 5th birthday to Karate America Pewaukee. It is the 5th year. 5 years ago this month in June, we opened our Pewaukee Academy over there on Capitol Drive. You know, Mr. Hansen, you were instrumental in getting that location ready and supporting us with that location. I think there's a picture on Facebook of you and Mr. Quirk like unpeeling the logo there on the wall. Can you believe that it's been 5 years since we've had Pewaukee in our family? No,
we talked about it a little while ago in our leadership meeting, and I was like, oh, it's been 5 years already. Wow. It has gone by so quick.
It really has. So, and we're really proud of Mr. Kozlowski. We're proud, to have all the Pewaukee families and students. I don't even know how many black belts now have come through that academy and more to come, but we're really, really proud of that academy, making it through a pandemic as a brand new fledgling location. I mean, we couldn't be happier with everyone and everything that's going over the Pewaukee location. So if you have time to go over to the Pewaukee, Karate America Pewaukee Facebook page and drop a happy birthday comment, drop a happy 5th birthday comment. I know Mr. Kozlowski has some kind of cool promotions actually this month. So we might even just get like a video of him talking about the promotions that he has over the academy and have that up on our Facebook page later on the week. So keep your eyes out for that. And just congratulations to the entire organization on Pewaukee's success, because truly it is a team effort and an organization effort that has made Pewaukee the very successful academy that it is today. So happy birthday, KA Pewaukee. So Ms. Calhoun, if you are still watching, I promised you that you would want to tune in here at the end. We do have kind of an exciting announcement for anybody. Most of our families know, we talk really frequently about the MIC tools, the Rudy MIC work, conscious communication. Mr. Quirk and I have been working pretty closely with Mr. MIC and the MIC companies over the last few years. We're developing some pretty cool online training things that are going to be coming out here in the next several months. But one of the things that we're coming out with this week, so on Thursday, June 17th, right day after tomorrow, the very first episode of, if you like this live stream, you might like the Mixed Systems live stream. It's going to be me, Mr. Quirk, and Mr. Mick every single Thursday live at 11 a.m. Central Time. We're going to be on the Mixed Systems Facebook page. We're going to be on the Mixed Systems YouTube channel. So all you got to do is go out to YouTube and just search Mixed Systems. And I think on the Mixed Systems YouTube channel, we have even fewer subscribers so far than Karate America community. So show us some love. But if you are interested, this one is going to be geared specifically towards teams, businesses, organizations. So if those of you who work, which most of us do, if you tune in and listen live at 11 a.m. Central on Facebook and on YouTube, we are going to be having the Mixed Systems live stream. We're going to be talking about a lot of organizational topics. This week, we're talking about outcomes and results versus tasks and how to build a team that is more oriented towards outcomes and results. So tune in for that. We're really, really excited about it, and we hope that you will join us for that. If you like the way that our instructors and our staff communicate with your children at Karate America, a lot of that is foundationally built on the Mixed Systems communication tools. So join us on our live stream to learn more. Mr. Hansen, we are at the end of our hour. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Do you have any closing words for your legion of fans watching you tonight on the live stream?
This time goes by really fast.
I know.
I'm so grateful to be part of Karate America. I'm grateful to be able to work with the families, and that they've provided me with so much trust, in this team and our organization with so much trust to help move their students to the next level. One of the things I constantly think about for myself is the behaviors and habits that have gotten me to this point will not take me to the next level. I must shift and change and adjust my habits, my behaviors, and elevate them to the next level to reach my next goals. So hopefully that resonates with some of our viewers, and they can keep moving forward, keep growing through ongoing training and personal development.
Nice. Okay, I have to make this final comment for the night. Mr. J. Hansen, we're very proud of you and what you've achieved, Mom and Dad. Love that comment. And I don't know if you know this, Mr. Hansen, but guess who is going to be on the live stream as a guest next week?
My parents.
We're celebrating Father's Day month, so Mr. Hansen Sr., Mr. J. Hansen, is going to be one of our guests, one of our karate dads next week on June 22nd. We're going to welcome Mr. Mindel and Mr. J. Hansen as our guests. They are, between the two of them, they've been, karate students, karate dads, virtual students, virtual parents, karate grandparents here pretty soon. So we're going to have, I think it's going to be a really fun conversation and colorful conversation, Mr. Hansen, with your dad next week, and with Mr. Mindel as well. So that's something that you guys do not want to miss. Mark your calendar for if you want to see who sculpted Mr. Hansen from a little kid up. Join us next week for Mr. Hansen's dad as one of our guests on the live stream. I am looking forward to it. You're
going to need more than an hour.
What are you trying to imply, Mr. Hansen?
I'll let everyone tune in to find out what that means.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for the hour tonight. I had a blast. Thank you so much, Mr. Hansen, for your time, for taking time out after a long, busy night in classes, for hanging out with us on the live stream. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for making this live stream a success. Go ahead and leave a comment. If you didn't get a chance to leave a comment for Mr. Hansen, make sure you do. I'm sure he'll go back, at least on our Facebook page, and look over the comments that were left for him tonight. But have a great rest of your week and be on purpose. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you, guys.